Welcome to The Independent Musician. Our weekly podcast will focus on the independent artist and the music market at large. You'll hear from those artists as well as music execs, tech experts, and marketing leaders from around the globe. We'll discuss what it takes to make it in the biz and how you can overcome obstacles as you progress your craft, all the while making it interesting and fun. Now, here's your host, Mark Skoda.
This is Mark Skoda with The Independent Musician, and I have online with me today for our podcast, Rosie Nguyen. And Rosie is actually involved in a very cool idea, which I thought would help our artists and our listeners. Fanhouse.app, Fanhouse.app, a platform really about helping build and nurture and reward your community for all sorts of creators, for whether musicians or video creators or others who are engaged. And so I'd like to welcome Rosie to the show.
Thank you so much, Mark. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, when I got your background, I thought it was going to be interesting because I try to bring various technologies and people and some very cool things that are happening around the world to our audience, and in particular to the independent musicians that are trying to build their careers, build their chops, get their music out, and ultimately, get paid for it, right? Which seems to be a much more difficult effort all the time in this world of the music business. Why don't you tell me a little about yourself first and how you got to sort of app development and working in this environment?
Yeah, I'd love to. And actually, when you were just describing kind of the path of the musician today and the struggles people go through as an independent artist to, be discovered, to grow a fan base, and then ultimately make a living and support themselves. I feel like I kind of went through that same journey as a creator, and I'm not a musician, but I'm a content creator on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and various other platforms. And I got started as a creator while I was in college. I provide for a family of four, my parents and my brother, who is in school. My parents are disabled and don't work, so I've been kind of the breadwinner for my family since I was 18. And I would, do work study in college. I went to University of Pennsylvania, and then I would send money home to help pay the rent and the bills and all of that. And then kind of when the pandemic hit, my school kicked all of us off of campus as much as most schools did. And
Right.
I found that I lost my work study job, and I was kind of like, oh no, I need to find another way to make an income, and quick. And it's not like any place was hiring at all. And so I really had to turn to this online community that I had been curating for kind of the last year while I was in college. I had about 30,000 followers on Twitter at the time, right? So it's not nothing, but it's definitely not big enough that brands.
That's right. You're doing a lot better than I am. So congratulations to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, 30,000 is a sizable amount, but when it comes to online numbers, it's a bit rough because it's like, again, brands or sponsors weren't coming to me offering me any kind of money for things, right? Which is kind of, I think, the traditional route that you might think for creators, or even with musicians, kind of this traditional route of making money was like, oh, you have to either get really, really big so that your streams actually start making money, or you need to sign with a label that gives you the cash that you need, right? But it's really hard to do on your own. And so I kind of got to this phase where I was like, well, I don't want to, I really believed in kind of the idea of like being supported by your direct community, because those are the people that love you. Those are the people that are supporting you. Those are the people that like your content and what you do. And that's kind of how Fanhouse came to be created. I met my co-founders, who are both Stanford grads, and then kind of just as a creator who knew all these problems and who kind of lived and breathed the content creation, and tried a lot of monetization and community platforms. I was like, this is kind of what is missing here right now, is a path of success for creators to be independent and to be able to be supported by their top fans.
Well, and you make a point there, top fans. I talk about this all the time in interviews. You had 30,000 followers. If you only had 1,000 who spent $100 with you every year on various content, in particular musicians, with respect to their music and or their merchandise, that's a $100,000 a year job. And it's much more important to have engagement and what I call the super fans than it is to have raw numbers that frankly don't care about you. Now, to your point, in the music business, if you get 1 million streams on a song, that's pretty darn good, and you get at least a couple $1,000 or so in your pocket. But that doesn't sustain you as an artist. So I think, to your point, it's really about how you engage those fans that are going to support you, love on you, share in your creative process, and ultimately support you through purchases and through promoting you as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. The kind of 1,000 true fans concept is one that I really love and really believe in, and especially because I've seen it play out for myself. And right when we say 1,000, that's kind of an arbitrary number. It's
Sure,
really,
of
yeah,
course.
whatever that number is for you. But for me now, I'll say, right, like I have close to 200,000 followers on Twitter now, and I support my family still and support myself. Through my fan house income, right? So I am also a creator on Fan House. I'm kind of using the platform I created in the way that I believed it should have been um, created for. And I make, I think, about 2 to 3 thousand a month on my Fan House. So I've made over uh, something like $65,000 using my Fan House. That just all goes towards, yeah, paying these bills that, I can worry much less about now. And every day I get to do this thing that I love, right? I get to make jokes, I get to tweet out content, I get to stream myself singing songs to my community. And for me, the concept of true fans is like the 500 people that pay me $5 every month, because that's how many subscribers I have in my fan house that come back every month. And I don't have to stress, I don't have to worry about like, oh, well, next month, what am I going to make from like, right? Because so much of content, especially, or like, right, music is like, there's a big aspect of luck involved, right? Like not all tweets go viral, not all TikTok
That's
videos go
right.
viral, not all songs
That's
go
right.
viral. And if I'm having a bad month content wise, it is really stressful to be like, well, where will I be making money? But yeah, when you know who that top engaged community is, those people will always be there because you don't really need that luck factor anymore to be able to engage that audience. Mhm,
I think what I found interesting about FanHouse, I mean, everybody is probably familiar with the Patreon models, even a
mhm,
PayPal model.
mhm,
Donate, 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 which is really a one-way relationship, right? Uh,
mhm,
send send your credit card in, send your $5 or $20 a month, and then you get nothing back. You get no feedback. You get no
mhm,
interaction. And I think FanHouse, really has, it appears to me, to created what a lot of people talk about when we all talk about community, right? We always want to create a
mhm,
community of our fans, quote unquote. And
mhm,
it seems to me you've done a pretty good job, both in terms of providing those feedback mechanisms as well as getting your money paid, right? But also ensuring that there's a constant feedback mechanism to your fans. I think
mhm,
badges was one I saw for creators that can be awarded, much like you
mhm,
do likes, but all say basically in one environment, right?
mhm. Exactly, Mark. And this is something that I think I saw through my own content creation experience too, before I founded Fan House, actually. And why I really believe that there needed to be this, two-way street of a platform, was yeah, exactly because I use Patreon, or I tried, right, like Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, these kind of, one-time donation tip jars kind of thing. And it's nice. It obviously helps. Like when again, when I used to be in college and was on food stamps, was very impoverished. I had followers that would Venmo me things like, "Hey, $10 for this meal," and that was great. That really helped me for that day. And then the next
Sure.
day, again, it was like, "Well, where did that person go, and who was that person?" I have no idea, because right. You can't connect with somebody on Venmo. Like you get the payment and you move on. But now it's like right with FanHouse, and like you said, we have these features like things like from group chats, right? Where all the fans get to talk to each other every day, and they can post to your wall and like, vote on polls and comment things and really be part of the journey. Like a thing I love to do on my fan house is just tweet, the drafts that I have, work in progress that I'm doing,
Yes.
and just be like, what do you guys think? What do you guys like? And they vote. And then, whatever they vote on, I end up, posting live to, to a much more public audience. So they get to be a part of that from the beginning. And I get to kind of just get this live feedback from them every day, like, oh, this is what my fans want. and yeah, like, and I know I can say like I know their names, right? And I know a little bit about all these people now because they've been in my fan house for over a year, right? Like I know who Marcus is, I know who Cyril is. And that is really meaningful to me as a creator. Cause again, right, like I do this because because it's fun for me, but it's also because I believe that it has a positive impact on the people that are consuming this content. So as a creator, it's really meaningful to see, that come to fruition and be able to really get to get to see your fans and get to like be part of the journey with them.
It's pretty amazing, the story. In fact, it's a sort of, I look at all these applications that get developed, and you're one of the co-founders. Started this from nothing, an idea. I read in the about page that you recently closed a $20 million A round. I mean, good gracious, that is in the vernacular of the tech space a hell of a job. And you've got a really good team of young, focused entrepreneurs. And I'm pretty impressed with that. It's amazing. Just when you thought everything was figured out, right? Facebook is the way, Instagram is the way, TikTok is the way, and here you are creating a very different model. No, I always talk about this. I like Facebook only in the sense that it allows me to do some promotion, but it has turned into essentially a nothing in terms of interaction. I mean, you do not get engagement anymore. And I think their algorithms just push that out, and it's not specific to a band or specific to a creator. YouTube, there are over 1.4 billion creators now on YouTube. I mean, how do you get engagement at that level unless you're niching everything? So I think it's kudos to your team that you've developed something new and continue to build it out. And obviously, as I say, if the dog eats the dog food, somebody spending $20 million with you, not a bad day's work.
Thank you so much for saying that, Mark. Yeah, we co-founded Fanhouse about 2 years ago, and it's definitely been a ride. I mean, I'm so grateful for it every day, and really, like, I still believe that I wouldn't be able to be here and do what I do and support my family without this platform and without the fans that I have. And I love that you brought up, kind of these different platforms that we kind of think of as the status quo, which I have been pretty vocal about that, I think social media platforms can do better. Right. My main platform again is Twitter. And I think everyone who's on Twitter knows that Twitter sucks the most at rewarding its creators or really, creating a safe community. Right. Like YouTube, Twitch, a lot of these other platforms have figured out some kind of monetization for creators. But even then Twitch, right, like has a 50% take rate on all subscriptions, which is a heavy fee to pay. And then you've got TikTok and like you said, YouTube too, where there are billions and billions of creators where it's such a saturated, market now that it becomes so hard to really stand out as a creator. Not only that, but to really, again, engage the fan and convert that audience into something that is meaningful and sustainable. And when I say that, I mean, here's an example, right? I went to VidCon this year, right? So it's a conference for creators, and it was sponsored by TikTok, and there were a lot of the big creators that were featured were all TikTok creators, like people with like tens and millions of followers on TikTok, like a lot of people. And they had speaker panels, and there were panels that, maybe had 2 to 3 people in the room, and there were panels that had nobody in the room. And I think it really speaks to like millions of followers does not always translate to, right, what we talked about, like a top fan, like who is actually going to show up in the room and show up for your event. And I think TikTok is actually doing a really bad job at helping creators, like engage their audience again. Because on TikTok, it's not even about the creator anymore. It's so much driven by the content and algorithm. Like people are there to see this fun video, but they're not there to see, right, again, to see Jasmine Rice Girl or to see, Mr. Beast or whoever it might be, names that used to mean things to people.
Yeah, I use TikTok to fall asleep at night. It works really well. It's better than counting sheep. And you point out a couple of things I'll say, and like I don't want to badmouth social media, but I think social media has become a sewer. Facebook has groups. Well, your groups never interact because I join groups as a record label, right, and as a podcaster, but I get no interaction, and there's no way to talk to those people, and it's sort of a very stoic way in which to create a dialogue. Instagram. it used to be pictures, now it's reels. They're trying to be TikTok light, and so
Mhm.
I think to myself, all right, so when I sort of saw you and your background, and I thought about this idea is I don't need to have a reach of a million. I just have to have all my fans come to one place that we can engage in various ways and present my content and then get feedback on my content and subsequently move my own career forward so that they're not going to get some, you know, some Karen, quote unquote, yelling at somebody in a car. They're going to focus on the content that I want to see. They're not going to get some girl dancing to the latest dance craze. They're going to focus on interacting with the creator, right? And
Mhm.
ultimately, they're not doing this at no cost. They're going to be motivated to reward you in a monetary sense and therefore obviously have skin in the game, all of which, by the way, is what
Mhm.
content creators want.
Mhm.
And I think it's a very interesting construct that you guys have built in that approach. Am I on target there in terms of what I'm assuming as a potential user?
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. And I'll just kind of give a little brief to especially for people that don't know Fanhouse, right? So Fanhouse is I like to kind of explain it as like a Patreon meets Discord, right? So it's a platform that allows creators to monetize their content similar to Patreon, right? You can have monthly subscriptions, and then you can also do a lot beyond that. You can get tips, you can do unlocked like custom content. And then on the other side, Discord, there's a lot of community features that allows creators and their fans to interact with one another, right? So Discord has things, right, like these channels, group chats, like badges, rewards.
Right.
Yeah. So we provide those to fans and creators. And in terms of gated access, we currently have three types of gated access. One is, a paywall, right? So you could subscribe to a creator for $5, $10, $20 a month, whatever they have set. And then there's also password wall. So you could actually access a creator's page if you have a secret password that you might get maybe if, right? Like maybe if they watch your podcast, Mark, and you had a fan house, maybe in this episode, we would say, hey, and if love Mark as a creator, this is his password. And only the people that watch your podcast would be able to go in here.
Right.
And right, like again, they're kind of verified top fans. And then the last wall that we have is like a Spotify integration wall that specifically was built for musicians. So a fan could link their Spotify to a fan house. And if the fan has this artist in their top artist on Spotify, then and only then will they be able to go into the fan house and be able to see all the content. And so it's just like, yeah, like thinking creatively of different ways to get to this top fan idea, right? Like whether it is like proving that you're a top listener on Spotify, or yeah, like you have skin in the game because you're willing to pay to support the creator, or yeah, you get a password because you're supporting their content. All of these are three ways right now we're like trying to get creators to get to their engaged audiences.
Now, in terms of your demographic of creators today, where would you say sort of concentrations lie in terms of your types of creators that are currently using the platform?
Most of our creators today are streamers, gamers. So a lot of streamers from Twitch, a lot of Twitter creators, and I'll say a lot of yeah, like younger creators too, sort of like Gen Z.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say a big reason is just that a lot of our growth in the first 2 years have been just kind of like organic word of mouth and kind of stemming from like my networks and friend groups too, right? Like the creators that I knew because I was, again, the first creator on Fanhouse, and the people that saw it worked for me and wanted to try it were people that were similar to me. So it's kind of been a very strong network effects in that end. But I think we've been really excited about transitioning to, verticals that we've seen just really need a product like this. And I think that's why, yeah, I wanted to have this conversation with you because we've researched and we've interviewed a ton of small musicians, and like we see these same problems that, the creators that we've been working with have yeah, musicians are having these same problems of like, well, who are my fans and how can I, make money, and how
Right.
can I, raise enough so I can make a music video, so I can make a song, and really be an independent artist. Because that's really, what people want nowadays. Like, people don't want to have to sign to a label anymore. They want to have the freedom and the creativity, and the rights to their own work. But it takes a lot, to make money, and to do the work that they want to do. And so at the Fan House team every day, we're just asking the questions like, well, how can we support people like this and support their dreams?
Well, that's why I started Iron Gate Records as an independent record label. I
Mm-hmm.
ensure we have a subscription model. We
Mm-hmm.
basically allow everything a la carte so the artists can build their campaigns around services that we offer. And but more importantly,
Mm-hmm.
the artist owns all of their streaming. The artist owns all of their merchandise revenue. The artist owns all of their music and publishing. And that was a critical element in my decision in writing the business plan after my own son's band had been signed by an independent label, and it became obvious that it wasn't going where I wanted to go. Now,
Mm-hmm.
to your point, and this is why I was intrigued, and I think, a key vertical, certainly my bias is in music generally, when an artist promotes themselves, okay, first of all, they're going across Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and many of them don't even use Twitter. YouTube, obviously, because it's just got a huge community. If they want to raise money, they're doing either a GoFundMe account or Indiegogo account or others. They have their Patreon accounts. They have their Venmo accounts. They have their emails coming into their websites. And all of these are disparate touch points, right? I mean, there is truly no central point where a music artist, can provide. Here's our video, other than their website, uh, and their websites, frankly, are a lot of people don't go online to the websites, right? So when you think about raising money for a video, raising money for a studio gig, uh, having a conversation with your fans, even doing a live broadcast, which I suspect you are able to do, given the fact that you have content creators
Mm-hmm.
that are using the application around gaming, which a lot of these young guys watch somebody else play a game, which I guess it's kind of cool, but I never understood what I want to play the game rather than watch somebody play the game. Uh, but having said that, it's okay. So I mean, it would seem to me that that's an area of really good concentration if you can pull those assets together from a point of view and become that virtual community for the artist to act as the hub to all of these nodes in their network.
Yes. Just a quick, correction there is we actually do not have live functionality on Fanhouse.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think again with Fanhouse, we don't really think of Fanhouse as a like discoverability or like, top of the funnel kind of platform. Like it's not
Okay.
TikTok.
Hmm.
TikTok is where you got to be discovered, or Twitch, right? You can stream there, have all the functionalities with like OBS,
Yes.
live streaming, etc. But when it comes to like, okay, well, I have these, I don't know, 1,000 viewers. Which of these 1,000, again, will come back every month and support me and, want
Hmm.
to be notified every time I have a stream, want to vote in polls about what I should stream next time. Because that doesn't happen while you're live. When you're live, you're live.
That's right.
And that's kind of how I use my fan house, for example, right? I mentioned I like to really do singing streams where I'll like
Hmm.
play piano, sing a song, and it's like the set list gets determined by my fan house beforehand, right? Like what are the songs that we should sing for stream today? All right, because you guys are the people that are supporting me and you can decide. um and then once I'm live, yeah, now it helps me, get discovered to new audiences that I might not have found before. And once those new audiences come, like again, which of you will come to my fan house and stay there and support me again month after month?
So, talk about onboarding. Let's say I want to become a user of Fanhouse. What do I have to do to get started, and how difficult is it? Do I pre-populate some of my fan base? Do I have an integration to perhaps people that are following me on other applications? How easy is it for me to become a user of the Fan House?
Mhm. I think creating an account is relatively simple. It's like any platform. You choose a username, you upload a picture, and then you link your bank account so that you can get paid. And right, we pay out 90% of all transactions to our creators. And after that, it's just kind of, yeah, the same as anything. Like, right, if I were to make a TikTok for the first time, then I need to go and tell my Twitter about it. Like, here's my TikTok link, go follow for this. And
Hmm.
um, so yeah, so So you would go and tell your existing fan bases about the new platform, and they, again, the people who are the most engaged fans would move over, and you'd be able to know who they are.
Okay. And as it relates to sort of do you have the ability to do live chats? Obviously, you have I think I saw the chat house, but you have the ability to do live chats with your fans, right?
Yeah, so you can have DMs in order to talk to fans, and then or right, fans talk to you, ask questions, request things. And then there are also like what we call house chats, which is a big group chat for a creator and all of their fans.
All right. So where are you heading with the platform now? And obviously having closed the round, where do you see yourselves moving in the future here?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely just been trying to grow, and as I mentioned to you, to try to figure out new verticals of creators that could really benefit from having Fan House. And music is kind of one of those first verticals. We've been building out a lot of musician specific features. So I mentioned, the Spotify wall is one. We have a feature called Listen Goals, which is kind of like, right, like if a musician is releasing a song or has a song, they could set a goal that's like, hey guys, help me get to 10,000 streams on this song, right, on my new song. And all the fans in the fan house would link to Spotify, and every time they played that song, the counter, the goal would kind of go up. So they would see like, okay, your fans have streamed your song 5,000 times. And
Sure.
they would also be able to see exactly who has been streaming how many times, right? So maybe, yeah, like Mark has been streaming 2,000 times of these people. And then at 10,000, stream, the goal is hit, maybe I release the music video or release the lyrics or release the meaning of the lyrics, and then give a shout out to Mark for really supporting me here. So again, a way for fans to really support in that journey of the creator, and then a way of letting the creator know who is behind them and supporting them. Those are features that we've been building. Another one is kind of just like community community ownership sharing, which is like, yeah, what we really believe in is like letting creators own their communities. I think something that social platforms don't do well either is like, right, if I get deactivated, like if my Twitter account gets deactivated tomorrow, like I
You're
would,
gone.
yeah,
That's
I
right.
would have no way
Right, right.
of accessing those people ever again. I have no idea again who these 200,000 people are. But something that we're starting to build or have just released is like, yeah, like community ownership tools where the creator would be able to know what all of their fans' emails are if the fan, of course, like
Provides it. Yeah.
yeah, agreed to sharing that information. And so regardless of whether you are on Fan House or you don't want to be, you always have access to these people, or at least know who they are and be able to communicate with them again. So those are some of the tools that we've really been excited about building. And yeah, we have a team of 25 now, and it's really just been focused on building new features for creators and then getting new creators on to help serve them.
As it relates to personal data, you're obviously not scraping for any of the information on the fans of the creators, right? It is purely their data, their content that they own, and there is no sort of monetizing of the creators' fans. Is that right?
Nope, not at all. We're just servicing this place to connect these two people, and we take 10% off of the transactions that they make. We're not,
Right.
yeah, there's no advertisements, there's no algorithms, right? It's just like whatever the creator posts, the fan gets to see it. The fan chooses if they, spend money, and then all we share, and again, the only thing we share with the creator is just the fan's username and the fan's email if the fan opts in for that sharing.
Right, right, and I think that's been a big problem of quote unquote free platforms, right? They're monetizing you and monetizing your relationships, and I think that's been problematic, and more so today. We're seeing every day more news come out about how even the government's using this data against us, right? You mentioned Twitter. Obviously, I'd love to hear your thoughts. We have a new owner, Chief Twit, who is changing the game a little bit. He's got a lot of people's heads exploding, which I quite thoroughly enjoy, frankly. But I personally believe it's probably for the better. What do you think? How do you feel?
I usually am someone that kind of waits to see more data before I make judgments. So obviously I'm up to date, and I have read, the news today about, right, like Elon Musk saying that Twitter verification should be available to anyone that wants to pay $8 for it a month, right?
Right.
And I I definitely have my own thoughts about on how that would actually pan out. Like, what would that achieve? How will that, affect the current verification system and, people that are, like public figures or celebrities.
Sure.
And then yeah, and how that'll actually impact the usage of, people on Twitter, again, as someone that uses Twitter every day. But mostly, I mean, I'm just curious. I think I keep a very open mind, and I'm very curious to see if and when that does happen. I mean, what does change? Like, do people really leave Twitter on a mass exodus? Maybe
Hmm.
no one just buys it, and Elon is kind of like never mind, as he seems to do sometimes. But I don't really think, I don't know. Social platforms are very, very complicated, and I don't think there are any like one right or wrong answer when it comes to it. And I think I appreciate that, if people are just willing to try to see when things aren't working, like what can work. But something that Elon did say in his Twitter thread today, that I was excited about is, yeah, in one of his threads, he mentioned that content creators on Twitter should be paid for what they're doing. And I was kind of like,
Yes, I saw that, and
yes.
and I think he's trying to bring back the short video. What was the name of the service? Now it escapes me, but it was owned by Twitter.
Fine.
Vine, thank you. Yes, he
Yeah.
wants to bring that back, which, by the way, was really cool when they did it, because
Mhm.
you didn't have a static preview, right? You could do some very cool
Mhm.
stuff, and I think honestly, it's going to be fun to watch. I know people's heads are
Mm.
exploding now. Everybody wants to talk hate speech. Look, I'm a free speech guy. I do podcasts. I was doing radio many years ago. I think free speech is critical, and sometimes free speech isn't speech everybody likes. That's too bad. That's life. You didn't get born not to be insulted, okay? But at the end of the day, I think it's he's going to shake things up, because this is a guy this is a guy that launches our satellites now. Not a bad day's work. And I think it's going to be interesting, and I think if nothing else, it's going to cause the rest of the social media companies to take a pause and think about, what does this mean for us, right?
Mm.
Because he certainly got the wherewithal to add the functionality that I think could make Twitter a far more usable platform, and frankly, allow more people to participate, which I think would be cool. So where are you going next? What's your next efforts with Fanhouse? Obviously, you talked about getting some more functionality built in the musician side. Is a lot of that functionality for musicians available now? So if I push my artist there and people are listening to Fanhouse, that they're going to get some value add immediately, do you think?
Yeah, community ownership is out, as I mentioned. The
Right.
Spotify integration has been out. Password wall has been out. We have a lot of small musicians who utilize it in ways, like, yeah, if you go pre-save my song, I'll send you the password to my page.
Mm-hmm.
We have listen goals, which I mentioned to you, is
Yes.
coming out, I think, either end of this week or next week. But yeah, early November was kind of the timeline there. And then more, honestly, more in the pipeline, more functionality for things like, yeah, like better notifications, better ways of interacting and engaging. But I mean, we're releasing new things every week. I mean, yeah, like better and monetization breakdowns. We
Mm-hmm.
released something recently called Community Unlock. So it's a way of like the whole community can come together to like, let's say maybe it's like the music video teaser for a new song, and the community can get together to unlock that together. Um, at a price, right, that the creator sets. So things like that have been out, and of course, all of our basic functionalities have always been available. But yeah, we've been definitely, I think, since a few months ago, yeah, really heads down on music focus features.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've been onboarding more. More and more musicians, and those are the problems that they have. And I think, I don't know if I mentioned to you, but right, like the chain smokers, who are one of our investors, and
Uh,
also some of the first creators to get on, right? Like we're always trying to discover every day like ways to help them really engage with their community better as well.
well, indeed. So, do you have any tutorial videos or that our folks could pick up or watch to see how they would use Fanhouse? Or
Yeah.
do you? Okay, can you
We
tell
have
us
a
where
lot
that
of
would be?
Yeah, we have a lot of blog articles on our website,
Mm-hmm.
that just explain things like how to sign up, how to set up things, how to be successful in your fan house. So again, the website is Fanhouse. That's FANHOUSE .app. And then we also, just like, I mean, YouTube. if you search Fanhouse in YouTube too, there are a lot of videos that our creators have made on using Fanhouse. And then, yeah, same thing on our Twitter, Instagram too. Lots of posts and just explanations of different features.
Yeah, there's a lot of Fanhouse FAQs as well. So
yes,
I encourage anybody listening to this podcast to check out Fanhouse.app and check out the FAQs. This, I'm impressed. I'm going to go and probably sign up to an account here and just begin using it, because I always like to say that if the dog eats the dog food, then the rest of the dogs will join us, right? So, I'd love to see how I can promote what I do as a record label and certainly as a podcaster. This has been a really very interesting call. I appreciate your time today. Certainly, I have to say that I think this really has some legs, and obviously so do some investors, Rosie. So I wish you all continued success. By the way, is your family still in Vietnam, or are they on the West Coast?
My family, oh man, it's a little tricky right now.
You don't have to answer that question.
Yeah, we're just a little nomadic. I'm trying to figure out how to buy a.
You're nomadic. Okay, there you go. We'll leave it there. Everybody's nomadic. Many people, by the way, are coming to Nashville from California. So just to let you know that fact. But in any case, we've been talking certainly with Rosie Nguyen, and she is the co-founder and chief creator officer for the Fanhouse.app company. And we've really appreciated your input and feedback, and certainly we're going to get everybody to check this out. Again, folks, check out Fanhouse.app, and all of my musicians and musician followers, get an account, log in. It's free. Begin to kick around with it and provide some feedback to Rosie. Join her fan base and tell her what you want next on the app development side. So I'm sure she'll respond immediately, right, Rosie?
I think someone on our team will always respond immediately. I cannot promise that on my end, but absolutely for you, Mark, I will. If you have any questions about the app at all, I'm super excited for you. Thank you so much.
We appreciate your time this evening. This has been a lot of fun, and it's great to have met you and to spend some time with you on the phone here. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us this week on The Independent Musician. Make sure to visit our website, IronGateRecordsRadio.com, where you can subscribe to the show on your favorite streaming platform, so you'll never miss an episode. While you're at it, if you found value in this podcast, we'd appreciate you giving us feedback or simply tell a friend about the show. Be sure to tune in next week for a new episode of The Independent Musician, where the independent musician is the star.